Hello, this is Matt, and this is Whatcast. Today, there's another debate to watch here, to watch along. Now, I've stopped this at the point I watched it to, 7 minutes. Nothing's really happened yet. I wanted to, as people that watch this channel would know, I want to react properly, not having seen something and then watching it again and reacting to what I've already thought about I'm going to say. I want to watch it properly. This guy, Stephen Alonso, you might remember, he is the guy that immediately came out after TFE, the final experiment, and said, it's a big win for Flat Earth. This bloke, right? And everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of Flat Earthers have said that they fell for that drivel. And here he is. I've never really seen him talking before. I've just seen his ridiculously stupid models. Without further ado, I haven't seen this, so I apologise already if I talk a lot. I've got it on 1.5 speed. I've got a feeling I'm going to be reacting to it quite a bit. Let's have a look and see what he's got to say. Will Duffy and Stephen Alonso.
So instead of proving things, science refines hypotheses through repeated testing. The goal for my flat earth science is to continually move forward without contradicting the past. We still live on the Gleason map, much in the same way that you guys could relate to classical mechanics, Newtonian, evolving to Einsteinian relativity without anything Newton did being disproven. So that's why a lot of you guys know that I stand firm on what I said a few months back, that Mark Sargent and David Weiss are still correct and all their work's valid. They were only operating from a 2D framework, and they didn't have access to the 3D model I made to correctly understand what I call dome refraction. So I'm just going to quickly just show this only image here just so you guys know what I'm talking about. If they could not see this prior to TFE, and they had no way to know better. So I'm not saying anything prior to me is wrong. I'm improving on it, and I hope that from that we can find out that we still live on the Gleason map and that nothing changes.
Okay, cool. So Stephen, one of the most important observations / experiences / data that we have for the final experiment is actually a flight. And so there was a flight that Critical Think took on his way home from Antarctica, where he flew from Santiago, Chile to Sydney, Australia nonstop. And that flight was a little over 13 hours long. I would like to know what your thought is on that flight, how you think that flight is possible on a flat Earth, but more importantly, how you think that flight is possible on the Gleason's map.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people know that I believe we have an ether fluid framework that all matter essentially travels through, and it's within a dome structure. And the reason why this matters is that ether compresses measurements. It's called the Lorentz length transform. This is a real thing that special relativity would use. Now, I don't fully agree with that, so I reinterpret it to a way that works on the Gleason map. So I'm not sure if you remember TFE challenge.
So what he means is he's talking about relativity and stuff. He's obviously disagreed with this in the past, so he's got to pretend he still disagrees with it whilst using it to try to get the things he needs to happen on the flat Earth model. I don't agree with any of this. However, I'm going to use it now because I literally have nothing else.
Number one, let me just see if I can put it up on the screen so people have an idea of what I'm talking about. I want to share challenge number one. Okay, cool. Let me see if I can make it so you can still see my face. Wonderful. So what I did because of your challenge is I had to derive a formula using planar trigonometry. Now that's very important to understand because with planar trigonometry, we are actually measuring distances on a flat surface, unlike the Haversine formula, which I wanted to make sure to show so that people know the difference. It's not as simple as just saying Steve used the Haversine formula. It's no, Steve is using planar trigonometry. And then to deny it, you got to go more advanced and look at the ether, the implications beyond that. But the practical approach is that the farther you get south, distances compress. So I actually believe if we could go up in space and look down, you would see Australia exactly like that. But because of the etheric compression, measurements end up exactly the same as the globe. So it's really, really hard to tell the difference from flights alone.
Okay, cool. So I do want to get back to your submission for TFE challenge number one, but this is a...
Oh, I can't let that go. He's suggesting, this bloke is suggesting that the map looks like that. So we all know that the map there, that he's got, that Gleason's map, we know it's been disproved from the final experiment. But he's got to pretend that it's still accurate, and he knows that he's going to be asked about the size of the southern hemisphere plane or southern hemisphere probably in this conversation. So he's pretending that it looks exactly like that. But when you actually measure it, there's some kind of compression going on. So it measures how it looks like on the globe. But it looks like that, but it don't measure like that. And flat earthers are going to believe this because they need to. They have to, right?
This is a very specific flight. So if a pilot was going to make a flight plan for that flight using that map behind you, what exactly would that look like?
You would have to, I guess, graph out the gradient compression to know the shortest distance. So it's no longer as if you're being on a sphere doing like a geodetic survey where the great circle is the straightest line. On flat Earth, you need to see where the etheric compression is the least. So because we have a parabolic dome, if you're right at the north, it's going to be a very different compression than if you're flying around there.
How
so
convenient.
What happens is pilots will plot a flight pretty much the exact same as if it was a globe. So it's going to not be a straight line because the distance is shortest that way. There's too much ether here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No! What do you mean, yeah? Will is so polite because he much better at this than I ever would be, to be fair. But to just agree with that, I think what it is with Will, he knows that there's literally no point in disputing what he just said because he's just going to repeat it anyway. So you may as well just build your case point after point to show how ridiculous he is. Overall. I'm guessing, right? Because yeah is not the answer to that. That was a load of drivel that didn't make any sense, that flat earthers will be sitting nodding along with without understanding at all.
How would you know, like how would the pilot know to have enough fuel though?
Well,
for that flight?
Depending on what the distance is.
And how do they calculate the distance?
With the Lorentz latitude distance formula. So you have two options. You can use a globe Haversine if you want, but you can also use the flat Earth model. And what I found was that the difference was only about, or is it the first slide where the distances are shown? Yeah, it's only about 20 kilometers difference. So that alone over these massive flights, I can't really tell the difference of which formula is more accurate. Should we use the flat Earth Lorentz latitude distance formula, which is number 2, or should we use the globe Haversine distance formula? So I guess with your final experiments, I was kind of hoping you would be letting us have that data. So for the predictions made, we could then see which model is more accurate. For example, the flight from Los Angeles, is it actually 8,928 or is it 8,972? So we don't really know yet, but I'm hoping if you're able at some point to release that data, we could possibly then figure out what model aligns best to reality. But at the moment, they both.
Yeah, because you totally want to figure it out.
Okay, now when you say distances are compressed, what does that mean?
It's a Lorentz length contraction. So I guess there's two ways of looking at it. So in general relativity, you can go so fast that time slows down. There's a kinematic equivalence to that. So a lot of us don't at all believe in general relativity. The way to look at it is that the coordinate system is expanding or contracting.
Again, I don't believe in any of this stuff, but I'm going to use it here because I can't do it any other way. So I'm going to pretend that I'm taking relativity and special relativity and the Lorentz contraction and all this other shit that he doesn't believe in, and applying it to the dome and applying it to the AE map, because then he can just say that it works and try to pretend that people that think we're on a globe actually agree that the thing he's pointing to does work. He thinks this is a really good plan, but he's fucking wrong.
So either time speeds up. I mean, personally, that makes no sense. I don't believe time can change. I do believe that physical distances, though, can compress under ether. Scientifically, this is the Lorentz ether length transform. You can Google that quickly, or anyone in the audience can, to know that it's actually real. The problem is, or where we can debate about, is my application of the Lorentz length transform.
Is it real or is it not? Because you keep saying it is real, but you don't believe it. Well, then, if you don't believe it, then it's not real, right? If you are going to dismiss it on the one hand because you know it doesn't help you, you can't then have it as real over here because that does help you. Make your mind up, real or not.
Form.
Yeah. Now, I do think there's some serious issues with your formula, which we'll get to. But the issue I'm having here is I personally know 3 pilots. Okay, one of them works for Southwest Airlines, so they're very serious pilots.
Yeah, commercial license.
Yeah, definitely. And as you know, I was trying to find a flat Earth pilot to try to understand, because when I talk to the pilots that I know, they are using the globe for flight planning. They're not using any of the things that you're talking about. And so do you know a flat Earth pilot?
No. So it's called a CPL. You'd lose your commercial pilot license if you did what I did and publicly spoke. You could probably find people with a PPL, the private pilot license, they would talk to you, but a commercial one, it's a financial. So that's the problem. In mainstream capitalism, we are blackmailed financially. If you say the wrong thing, unless you're like me and you're self-employed, it's different. But most people have licenses. You with your financial licenses, you could lose that if you do the wrong thing. So it's very hard to find that in this modern day right now. Sadly, we're persecuted.
Yeah, they all know. All the pilots all know that we're on a flat plane, but they're not allowed to talk about it. Otherwise, they'll lose their license. That's what it is. This is so hidden and buried that I know that I can talk about flat Earth anytime on YouTube that I want to, and nothing will happen. If I touch certain other conspiracies, they'll definitely take the video down immediately. They'll never touch the flat Earth stuff at all. But that's the biggest, most guarded secret there is. These people can make a living on YouTube talking about this, but they don't want us. They don't want us talking about this on YouTube. They couldn't talk about other things. Big conspiracies, they definitely couldn't talk about it. The video would be down. I've experienced this, right? But flat Earth, everybody leaves it alone. But that's the big one. That's the one they really do. Pilots would lose their license if they spoke about this on there. But this bloke's allowed to say it all day long. No problem.
Group.
That makes sense. And if you recall, I also said I would speak to a retired flat Earth pilot. So do you know any retired flat Earth pilots?
No, I don't know. I also don't know how pensions work either, if it's possible to lose that.
Okay.
You have to see how they benefit from talking to you and see if it's a win-win for both of you. I don't have a commercial license, so it's hard for me to empathize fully with them. But
Your
the way
pensions
I
ain't
do it is
gonna
if I had some type
why
of license
if
I
you
could
talk
lose
about this.
by speaking, I wouldn't want to.
I see. So, Stephen, again, I'm glad that I did more research into you, because then I discovered I don't think you're a troll. But in my extra research, I came to the conclusion that I actually think you're an imposter. And that's the best word I can come up with. In my research, I went to Amazon and I typed in your name.
Yes.
And the first thing that came up is Flight to Truth, A Pilot's Journey to Flat Earth. And that's you.
Yes.
And so in this book, you claim to be a pilot.
Yes. Now, that's a very good thing to point out. So let me share what I want to then show you. So as you know, I'm an author. I have several income streams. That is one of several books. So if you can see the screen I'm sharing right now, I have a book called The Bun in His Oven. It's about male pregnancy. As a lot of you guys don't know, men have to go through pregnancy, and we often aren't appreciated for the struggle that we have. So I wrote a book about me as a man, the tale of male maternity. Let's also take a look. Oh, and just so you know, these are actual books. You didn't want to click it to show them it because you know it would disprove your argument. But I am an author with several books. Let me see if I can expand this. So I also wrote one called The Encyclopedia of Woke. I have about 10 different books. So you might not want to click where it says Stephen Alonso at the top because it'd ruin your argument. But you'll get to see that I have about 10 fictional books that are not used at all for teaching. And it's free. That's just for fun.
Okay, so here's the...
Therefore, I'm assuming he's pretending that was just not a book, a nonsense book about him pretending to be a pilot of Flat Earth, and he's equating it because he's wrote books about men getting pregnant as well, that he's trying to pretend that he wasn't really a pilot. But regardless of that, I've just noticed something. I'm sure the conversation's going to continue. But the book there, it says A Flight to Truth, a pilot's journey to Flat Earth, right? And it's got 2 stars or 1.5 stars, and it's free. It's free. You can't even give this book away, and people are still giving it only 1.5 stars.
The issue that I'm having is that I read your book, and I've also found comments you've made online, even recently, where you're claiming to be a pilot and that you were a pilot. And so I fear that you're an imposter and that you never were an actual pilot.
So you want to look at the groups that I said that in. So I belong to both globe groups, where it is just globe trolls, they're being toxic, and flat earth groups. So if it's a flat earth group, like the firmament trackers that you are in, that I'm an admin of with 28,000 people, I've never said that at all. Now, if it's a globe group where people are saying, Stephen, you should kill yourself, you should die, you're a terrible person, it's different for them. The content is more about engaging with them and trying to get the genuine people to come to the real groups. So look.
What? He's just called him out on pretending to be a pilot, and he's saying it depends on what group I'm in. So if you're trying to win an argument and you're evoking pilots into your argument, and people are saying pilots don't think the Earth is flat, you're then saying, well, I'm a pilot and I do, and you're excusing that and saying because they're being nasty, you can tell that lie. Flat Earthers, by the way, will completely be okay with that after trying to assassinate Will Duffy's character because he said a sermon that sometimes it's okay to lie. Therefore, he's a liar. Therefore, you can't trust anything he says. This bloke being called on a lie here, a blatant lie, pretending to be a pilot. Yeah, but that's all right. He needed to do that. So we're just going to believe this drivel model that he's got with all these multiple domes. And we're just going to ignore the fact that he's told that lie, even though he's just admitted it. And he's wrote a book claiming to be a pilot. But it doesn't matter. That's not serious. It doesn't matter. We just ignore that and let him carry on. We don't, because it works for us.
look at where it was posted.
Okay, now am I hearing you right that you were never a pilot?
No, of course not.
Okay, I appreciate that because your book claims that you were, and it claims that that's actually how you came to be flat Earth was by being a pilot.
Correct, but I have books that say as a man I can get pregnant. It's non-fictional, especially that outfit. Like no one dresses like that to be serious.
It's non-fiction.
Okay, well I appreciate clearing the air because I contacted people that have interacted with you, and they told me that you actually told them you were a pilot, that you answered questions, and so I'm glad that we can definitely clear the air there.
Yeah, it depends which group. So there are Facebook groups where like they're very toxic, and it is just for trolling. There's no actual genuine discussion like what goes on in the Firmament Chapters group that you're a part of. If you see the difference between a moderated flat Earth group and an unmoderated flat Earth group where it's only trolling, I participate in both because I actually genuinely enjoy the discussion, the psychology of it. It's very interesting. So I want to know why a glober would self-identify as a glober, and oftentimes they only are attracted to the ridiculous stuff. You have to dress up as a pilot to get their attention. But that's not for teaching flat Earth. So flat Earth science.
Oh, right. Okay. So, it's for a psychology. I'm going to pretend to be a pilot in the middle of an argument to win an argument just because I'm curious as to what makes people self-identify as a glober. Oh, you should have said. It makes perfect sense. It's completely legit and above board now. And you're just writing a book about it to prove that it's, as you would say, non-fiction.
Like this is something completely different. It's an actual academic book. So the difference between fiction books and non-fiction.
This bloke's insane, by the way.
So let's go back to your submission.
Way more insane than I thought he was going to be.
Which, give me 1 second. Oh, this is very annoying. Hold on. It looks like I have to stop sharing and reshare each time. So 1 second. Okay, here it is. All right, so this is your challenge that you submitted for the TFE, the 3 challenges that I gave out prior to us going to Antarctica. And
now that one, there's an amendment. Let me just check to see the difference.
Okay, and if you'd like,
wrong with it.
That's okay. And if you like, you could email me the amendment right now and I can pull it up. But our first conversation that we're gonna have about this is gonna have nothing to do with anything that you amended.
Okay, yeah, the amendment was published December 22nd when I reviewed the math, but I'll have mine up on screen and I'll see if I notice any errors in yours.
Okay, cool. So the first thing I noticed in your math was this very strange number of 6,371 kilometers, which just happens to be the average radius of the Earth. And so my first thought was that you're cheating and that you're kind of sneaking in globe math into your flat Earth math. And then you told me, either in an email or in a Facebook post, that the reason that number was in your formula was because it's the height of the firmament.
Correct.
So here's my question for you, which is, what does the height of the firmament have anything to do with planes flying through the air?
The amount of ether. That's similar to what I said before. So remember how we live under a dome? The compression that happens on the South Pole is completely different than the compression that happens at the North Pole.
How
so
convenient.
I actually played around that height. I could raise it and lower it, but the problem was the results didn't match what we actually observed in reality. Like I have friends in Australia who can drive across the country and measure the distances. So we kind of knew what a wrong and right answer would be. So this kind of had to be the height of the formula given the real life observations that we observe.
How did you get the height of the firmament? Because I've never seen the firmament.
Well, it's derived from the observations. So if I chose a different, for example, I started, let's say 1,000 kilometers. At one point, I thought the height was a lot smaller. I had 2 different heights at one point. It wasn't until your challenge that I realized the ether actually matters for distances. And that's why I had to raise the height. I think, or it was in miles before. I might've had it at 6,000 miles and now it's at this in kilometers, 6,371 kilometers. I think those are the 2 differences. But the reason why is that I found out through your challenge, my previous model was wrong. So that's why I always talk about the scientific method. We make a hypothesis.
Or it's a globe with the circumference that we say it is. No, it's not. It's this imaginary dome that just happens to be the same measurements as the circumference of the globe. We've never seen this dome, but it's definitely that. Trust me, bro.
We attempt to falsify it. And thanks to TFE number 1, I then learned that the height of the firmament is actually that, and my previous one is wrong.
Okay, got it. So it's interesting because I think you might be the first person ever to figure out the height of the firmament.
No, who is it? What's the guy's name? Shane and Alan use it, but it's from another guy before where he derived the radius of the Earth from the wavelength of light. So I've seen people do that before as well, where if you get a wavelength of light under certain situations, you can derive that radius as well. So I've seen other methods. Do you want me to put it up on screen quickly, or is it just not really?
No, I've just never found a flat earther that said definitively the firmament is exactly this height. And so that's what I'm saying. You might be the first.
Well, it's not definitively. As I said, this is my hypothesis right now. So I'm always open to I want my model to be falsified so I can then
no, you don't.
Figure out the correct stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So right now,
you don't want it to be falsified.
Right now, this height works perfect for everything, and I have no reason to change it.
Well, I can tell you that calculating flight distances will only work with the radius value of the Earth. And so if you change it, they're not going to work anymore. And so I think it's a pretty wild coincidence that the height of this so-called firmament is exactly the radius of the Earth.
Well, that's what happens if you wrap a flat Earth into a ball. You're going to end up with much of the same
What's that
dimensions,
got to do with
especially
the
along
height of the
along latitude.
firmament?
Yeah, but the height of the firmament would not have anything to do with wrapping a flat Earth around a ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can stretch it out to do that. Let me see if I can
What?
show you the math for that.
I bet you can't.
Wrapping the flat Earth into a globe. So all of this is on my website. Let me just see if I can save the image instead of the whole website to put up. Let me get rid of these images, sorry. Yeah, a lot of my nonfiction books are all free. So anyone who wants to learn about these fiction books, check them out on Amazon. But let me get the why I did what I did here. So this seems to make sense to me. Whether you have a flat Earth or a globe, you're going to have this same kind of results. Does that make sense what you're seeing on screen? You're going to have a diameter, and you're still going to have a diameter. You're going to have a radius, which can become the firmament height. What's actually interesting to me is that the firmament has 2 values on the flat Earth model, where the globe only has 1, which implies to me that the final result is more fixed. Like, this is how it has to be.
Gotcha. It's okay. I don't get it, but it's okay because your math is definitely flawed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here on what you sent me. And I'm going to go down to the Sydney calculations, which you can see on the screen. And you'll notice there, your final result was 11,027.9 plus 3,417.4 equals 11,327.9. So this is just bogus math.
Yeah, that was a typo.
That's a big typo.
What?
Yeah, now you have to see the full work on something else. But let me just show you what the actual one could be.
That's
why I
was a
recommend you guys go
typo.
to the website to get the updated stuff, because I fixed this all when I reviewed it. But let me just show you the same calculation, how it would correctly look.
Oh, I can't.
Let me see.
Okay, so I see some problems here. Here, let me do this. I'm going to take mine off to make yours bigger.
Yeah.
Is this Sydney?
Yeah, this is for Sydney. Yeah, 6 point. Yeah. So the same number you're looking at in yours, 6.42 would be the same.
Okay, great. So the compensation, which is the third from the bottom, that has to do with your etheric compensation, if I recall.
Yes.
That number you just reduced it to what you needed. You see?
No, I don't.
Your etheric scaling.
Mm-hmm.
You just here, do this. Can you pull up London?
London. Yes. London spreads across 2 pages, but I think I can still make it fit. Let me just see.
The bottom is what matters.
Okay.
The frustrating thing here is he's absolutely annihilating everything he's done. And it isn't going to matter at all. Because he's just going to bullshit. And every flat earther that thinks that this is the truth is just going to go, yeah, well, he completely batted that away, because they don't know how to do any of these sums themselves. So they're just, yeah, he must have done it right. He's lying.
Okay.
Okay, got it. So you did it again here. And then
yeah, so it's the same formula. It's the same for all calculations in the world. That's why I believe it's more accurate, because it works no matter where you are. Even when you emailed me asking for the local one in like Boulder, it seemed to work for that as well.
We'll get to that one next. Can you pull up Atlanta real quick?
Yes. Atlanta is 6.2.
Okay. All right, great. And then lastly, which is what I want to talk about, can you pull up the Denver Boulder one?
Yeah, now that's not on this sheet then.
That's okay.
No, I can still get it though. I have it, I think. That would be TFE number 1. No, I actually can't find the Denver Boulder one. I don't think I put that to my website.
Okay, I'll pull it up.
Okay, cool.
Oops, that's not it. 1 second. Okay, here it is. Okay. Here is the Denver Boulder one.
I can't see any of these.
I found some more bad math there. The etheric scaling, 2801.81 times 32.26 divided by 5,000 equals 7.54. That's not correct. It doesn't equal 7.54.
You sure?
Yeah. You want to grab a calculator?
Yeah, I'm gonna text
The feigned pretend
32.26
shock that it doesn't equate that. He
Divided
knows
by
it doesn't.
5,000. Times that by 2,000.81 equals 8.
I already know this is going to be wrong. This is the disrespect these absolute shysters have got for their audience. This bloke knows that flat earthers are the stupidest people in the world, and he knows that they'll just believe anything he says so they can parrot him whilst trying to win an argument while not understanding anything he's saying. And he knows that he can just put any sums on here with the wrong answer, and they won't try to work them out themselves to check whether any of them are right. They'll just go, that looks right, he's right, we live on a flat earth. And he knows that.
Yeah,
that's wrong. Yeah, you're right, that's wrong.
Okay. So as I went through this, I didn't understand everything, obviously. But the pieces that stood out to me were math issues. Now, you said you made corrections on the other one. I never knew that. So I'm glad you're telling me now.
Yeah, so there might still be ones here that I'd want to review. What matters, though, is the full work, not what I copied down from the papers. Let me show you on the screen how it actually expands out. So this is, now let me see, did I do this math wrong as well? Yeah, I still have the 7.45 there. So that is wrong. That should be 18.
Okay, so let me tell you what I think is significant is if there is a debate going on between two people, as significant as we live on a globe or we live on a flat earth, the way to settle the debate is to find where there are differences. And the things that you kept submitting were not very different from the globe model.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to me that these two ideologies are so diametrically opposed to each other, but you keep giving me things that are so close to the globe model. So what I did to prepare for our debate is I tried to find something, which I found, that you and I would agree is completely different on the two models.
Okay.
And that is a geographic South Pole.
Yeah, it would be slightly different.
Well, it would be very different because on the globe model, there is only one geographic South Pole. And then in your model, you said there's an infinite number of South Poles.
Yeah, but the South Pole magnetically is in a geographic South Pole, which is still
an infinite amount of South Poles. Yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Physical location. So when you asked me to find where it actually is, I then had to assign a location to it on my model. So that's it up here. Now, where it is would be longitude 139 degrees west. So on the Gleason map behind that, right about here. Now, the reason for that is that how to get there from New Zealand. So I had to look at the most realistic spot for where it would be. And that is it. Now, what you're right, though, about where we absolutely would disagree is the exact location. You're going to believe it's at 9 degrees south latitude, whereas I believe it's at 89.999 degrees south latitude. Now, the only way to tell that apart would be to look up at the South Celestial Pole and I guess have measurement.
Yeah, there's a difference. You believe it's at 90 degrees south latitude, and I believe that it's at 89.9999999999999 degrees. What is that, Stephen?
Devices that can confirm it is actually 90 degrees and not just 89.99 degrees.
Okay, so we'll get to the South Celestial Pole in a bit. But when it comes to this geographic South Pole, I was not expecting any flat earther, but I wasn't expecting you especially to say there's an infinite number of geographic South Poles. So
no, not geographic South Poles. There's only one geographic South Pole. There's an infinite magnetic South Pole.
Yeah,
the South Pole is a magnetic point. The geographic, there's only one.
I'm talking about geographic South Pole only.
Yeah, there's just one.
And you're saying there's only one on a flat earth?
Correct. One on a flat earth, one on a globe as well. I assume they're at similar locations. You head south of New Zealand.
Okay, so you're saying the geographic South Pole on a flat earth is south of New Zealand?
Roughly.
Roughly.
So the exact longitude is 139 west. That's
He's about to get debunked and he knows it, so he's
so
trying to change.
So it's going to look different depending on how you're looking at it, but you'd head southeast.
Give yourself some wiggle room.
Okay, gotcha, perfect. And then is that where you're saying the South Pole Research Station is located?
Yes. I think it's called Amson Scott. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, that's close enough.
Yeah, that's it. That's where it'd be.
Okay, great. So I'm glad you are stating this. This is very important. There is a company called White Desert. Are you familiar with them?
Yeah, they do Wolf's Fang runway, I think.
Very good. I'm impressed. Yes, they do. Now, did you know they fly people to the South Pole Station?
No, but I would assume they do. But Wolf's Fang is down here, so I think I know where you're going at. But continue. Yeah.
That's not where Wolf's Fang runway is.
Oh no, they're over here actually.
They're actually south of South Africa.
Over here. Okay.
Yeah, yes. So
this is the furthest point from where you went.
So people can see your map. Yeah. So go ahead and put your finger south of South Africa. Now, it'd be a little bit further up higher. Yeah, right in there. Something that people don't know about landing at the South Pole is you have to have skis on the plane.
Yes.
So we're talking about very small aircraft, okay? That
Not
have
like what
skis.
you landed with at ALE, not in a Boeing.
Correct. We don't have to have skis at Union Glacier,
Okay.
but at the South Pole you do. So we're talking about very small aircraft. White Desert flies people to the South Pole in about 7 hours to the South Pole Research Station. So if you look back at where you were saying that research station is, and where, yes. So how does that work in a small plane going?
So there'd be two options. The latter, I don't really want to believe because that would imply simulation theory. But the former one is that etheric distance I was talking about. So I don't actually think they have their compass at, what would it be, due south is like 180 degrees.
What?
So I don't think they're actually going 180 degrees south. I think they're going 179 degrees south and just wrapping right around. But if that's not the case, and they actually are able to confirm they're going 180 south, that would imply we live in a virtual reality. It means that what they're doing is going that way and popping out right over here. Now,
Oh, there's a third option that would make you go that way and pop out right over there. Do you know, anybody know what that is? Does anybody know what? Funny how he doesn't even put that as an option. That's definitely not an option. It's more likely it's a virtual reality Pac-Man world than a globe, right? And 80 degrees is 79. No, sorry. 180 degrees is 179.9 because I'm assuming he's leaving this little bit of wiggle room for the dome, for the for the dome to be on the all around the disc. Let's see.
I don't think that's very realistic. I would rather believe that they're just traveling through the ether, going at that exact same speed.
Yeah, so the
Or
distance
it's a
of
ball.
that flight would be probably on your map, the longest distance of any flight in the world.
Yeah.
And it happens in a very short amount of time in a very small plane. And I just don't think that's possible.
The way he grins
Doesn't
like
sound
it's not a
realistic, no.
problem.
Okay. I'm glad that you're at least willing to admit that.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, there's still a lot to learn in the south and all the technicalities of there. So if they are going 180 degrees due south, that's quite interesting. But even if they are going that way, that's the same ether compression that I believe in.
Okay, cool. When you say 180 degrees south, are you referring to 90?
No, my compass would show 180 degrees if I'm going south. My compass could be wrong, but it's an old analog one. But we have a 0 degrees at the top, 90 degrees east, 180 south, and then 270 west.
Okay. All right. So my next question for you.
That's all I was trying to say, due south.
Okay. My next question for you is about the South Pole again.
Wow.
So the research station that you mentioned, the Amundsen-Scott Research Station, the reason it's called that is because in 1911, Roald Amundsen and Robert Scott both were trying to become the first men to ever go to the geographic South Pole. Now, Scott did not know that Amundsen was going to do it because he was supposed to go to the North Pole, but he changed his plan, didn't tell anyone except his brother, and did not even tell his crew until it was almost too late for them to turn around, but they all agreed to go with him. So they started in different places, thousands of miles away from each other, and Amundsen beat him there. So he got to the geographic South Pole on December 14th of 1911, and he set up a very small tent with a Norwegian flag on it. And then they left because you have to get out of Antarctica before the Antarctic winter hits or you'll be dead. He never knew if Robert Scott was going to make it. Well, 34 days later, Robert Scott made it to the exact same spot where that little tent was. Do you have any idea how you can start thousands of miles away in Antarctica and end up in the exact same spot back in 1911?
So it's similar to what I said before. Either they are truly circumnavigating, which would mean that we live in a virtual reality and there's popping on the other side. Or
No, it means we live on a globe. Why can't you accept that? It either means it's a Pac-Man world, so they're going off that way and popping up over there. Yeah, there's another way that would happen if it was wrapped around a ball, as you would say, right? And that way you would go that way and end up, you would go that way and end up that way. You don't have to go off that end and appear at that end. This is just, Will has the patience of a saint. Like, I would not be like this with this guy. He's just talking so much crap.
Or they're right along the edge. Now, the edge of flat Earth is the exact same speed, apparently, like relative to you, as if you were in the North Pole going around this little tiny circle. So what I think they probably did is got as close as they could to the firmament, like 89.9 degrees. And because of that, it'd be very easy to go very fast around. If the story is true, I want to believe it's true. So if it's true, that's how I think it would work.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's definitely strong evidence that it's true. But my main question for you is how did they get to the same spot? There was nothing there.
Oh, that's celestial navigation. So the south is celestial pole. You can always look at that. And the next question you're going to say is, how do they know where to go? Well, that's the longitude. So you may have never seen multiple observers before because You can't really do it on the globe. So you have to like stitch two stellariums together. But what matters though is the orientation will be offset. So right here, these are two south celestial poles. You have Chile and New Zealand. The circle is showing where the Southern Cross is. So that is how we can have an infinite amount of south celestial poles. You can have a million because longitude is
how
a continuous
convenient
system, and based on what part of the firmament you're looking at, it's extremely easy to know where you are in the world. So that is how, if they were trying to meet up, they would have done the same way everyone has always done celestial navigation, either with the north.
Flat earthers now all going, yeah, that's right, without understanding a single word he's talking about. This is why people like Whitsitt, who's desperate for a model now to continue his grift, hasn't jumped on this model, because even Whitsitt can't pretend to understand the shit that this bloke is talking, right?
Celestial pole or the north celestial pole, which is Polaris.
Okay, cool. So here's the issue. I've studied your model. Now, by the way, we'll get to the South Celestial Pole. They would not be able to use that because they were finding the geographic South Pole in the summer and they had a 24-hour sun. So does that give you any clues as to how they found the geographic South Pole?
If it's in the summer and there's the sun, that would then be interesting. There might have been day stars they could see. For example, you know how we in the north we can see Venus very, very bright in the day. Maybe that's what they saw. Because with stars, the exact same concept applies. We know how offset the star is from the north celestial pole, and we can always find our way. So that is how it would have been done in the day, and it would have been very clever as well if that is what they were doing. But I actually don't know how they did it. I haven't looked into it.
Yeah, no problem.
Don't know anything.
Robert Scott ended up dying, but we recovered his body and his journal entries. We were able to read what he did. Amundsen survived and wrote a book about it. So they used celestial navigation, but they used it with the sun only. And so they would take sun elevation angle measurements every day, every hour, so 24 per day. And the lowest elevation angle was south, and they would go in that direction.
That makes sense.
Here's the problem with your model, which I've looked at. If two people were in different locations on your model in Antarctica, and they followed the direction where the sun has the lowest elevation angle, they'll actually be going away from each other. They would never go to each other.
You're right. So the difference then, you'd have to then look at something.
Yeah, let me show you this graphic of a million domes with the sun being in a different place in all of these domes. That's reasonable.
Something else. So you'd have to look at maybe sunspots or the time of day. Those would be the two variables you'd have to play with, because the sun's still circling around every 24 hours. So that's what you'd have to play with if they were doing celestial navigation with the sun.
Okay, cool. I'm really glad that you admitted that, by the way, because this I do think is a very significant issue with your model. Is back in 1911, two men, they started at different times, thousands of miles apart, ended up in the exact same spot. By the way, that's stunning. So Antarctica is 1.5 times the size of the United States. And Robert Scott ended up where a tiny, small tent was 34 days later because they followed the same celestial navigation on a globe. Following celestial navigation will bring you to the same spot, which is the South Pole. On a flat Earth, including your model, it'll send them further and further away from each other.
Correct. No, you're right on that.
Okay, I appreciate your honesty.
But I don't think that's what they did, though.
Okay, but by the way,
you're right. They would have went in completely separate directions, but I believe they used sunspots and the timing of the sun to correctly navigate. Because the sunspots, similar to how you could use the South Celestial Pole and what I was saying with the Southern Cross, you can look at the sunspots as well. And
God.
So I was reading in Amundsen's book about what they did to protect their eyes from the brightness of the snow. And they had like leather with little slits in it to just let in just a little bit of light so they wouldn't get snow blindness. I have no idea how they were looking at sunspots back in 1911.
Correct. So if the story is true, it does cause a problem for my understanding of how they would navigate. So that's something I definitely want to look into, because on my model, I did put 3 little dots for.
Oh, I bet he doesn't. Every flat earther that's ever said to me, well, I can't explain that, I'm going to look into it, I've never come back after looking at this. He will not look into this. That's a 100% guarantee.
Sunspots. So I can kind of play around with it and see if what I'm saying is even true. I never really attempted this yet, but you've given me now a project to attempt, and you'll see the results in the Firmament Trackers Facebook group.
Okay, awesome. Let's get to the South Celestial Pole. So we conversed on this, and again, you said there's an infinite number of South Celestial Poles.
Yes.
And one of the things, if you want me to pull it up, I can. But one of the things that we talked about was you said that, I believe you said that no one would ever have the South Celestial Pole directly above them.
Correct. And I don't believe that. So because 90 degrees south would mean the firmament is crushing you. It's not possible to actually go to 90 degrees south.
I knew that's what you meant. The firmament is going to be crushing you.
We can't use GPS to verify that because GPS is closed source. I tried to look into it to see if we could look into it, and it's only an appeal to authority logical fallacy. So what I said is we need to look for the South Celestial Pole angle. If that is exactly 90 degrees, then we are at 90 degrees south latitude. But I think it's actually 89.99 degrees.
Okay, do you remember why you told me
no,
South Celestial Pole directly above them?
No.
Okay, I don't either. 1 second.
Bring it up, though. Yeah, I can clarify if I said something weird.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Yeah,
if you said something weird, you've said something weird for the past 49 minutes, according to this video. I've spit it up.
What I said to you was that there is only one place that you would have the South Celestial Pole directly above you. And
Correct.
you did admit if that was true, then your model would be falsified.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay, so of all of the people that have been to Antarctica, which is countless, who knows how many, and all of the photographers and video and pictures, there is only one place that anybody has ever been able to film the South Celestial Pole above them, and that is at the geographic South Pole.
Oh, so
no matter,
I think I know what you're saying. Yeah, like if I was to go 1 degree away, the geographic South Pole would still be within the area. Yeah, I think I know what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying
but
is
surely if you're that close to the dome, you can touch it.
Whether they start in Africa, whether they start in South America, whether they start in New Zealand, the only place that you can film the South Celestial Pole directly above you is at the geographic South Pole. And so I do think that that fact alone also falsifies your model.
Well, are we able to go, though, to anywhere else? Because the way I understand it is they have like the area set up where if you want to go to 90 degrees, it's this specific zone. And they have like red markers and bamboo poles, I think, at the geographic pole. Like you can't go past an area. So I don't know how the permitting works. But if like you wanted to go here and head south, would you be allowed to just stop somewhere there? And because as you said, you need special runways. So what you're saying makes sense. If there's only one place that's possible to land on, and that's the only tourist or research area around 90 degrees south, like if they have nothing at 88 degrees south, then yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just so you know, and I'm sure you know this, but people make solo trips in Antarctica every year. They try to, go to the South Pole by themselves. They try to cross Antarctica by themselves. And so we have so many people that are there. They're freely and privately and independently traversing Antarctica. Yes. And the only place that anyone has ever seen.
Not allowed to freely explore below the 60th.
But how would you tell the difference? Like, do you mean they're showing you a video of them at the geographic South Pole and pointing it up? That's what you mean? Like,
yes,
there's no way for you to take a video without it and point it up. That's kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying if you film the night sky anywhere else in Antarctica, you don't have the South Celestial Pole directly above you.
No, that doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. The South
I agree with you, though, at the geographic South Pole, you can. But what you're trying to say is that regular people should be able to have gone to other places, and because they haven't, only your interpretation is right. That's the logical fallacy that I'm not following. But I agree with you that, yes, people do go to the geographic South Pole and take a photo. What I disagree with is that it's impossible to go to other places and get that same photo. So you could, on the opposite side of the geographic pole, go to 89.99 degrees, look up, and get the exact same photo that you got over there. The only difference would be you don't have that geographic marker around you. But I don't know why people would do that. Like for me, if I'm going to go to the South Pole, I'm going to the Amundsen Scott Station. I'm not going to mess around over here where there's nothing. So I think that's the problem. You're expecting a photo that no one wants to do or even can do. I don't know if there's set up here to go. Like if you want to, can you? 88 degrees at 0 longitude. How would you?
Yeah, it would obviously be very easy for
I'm sure it was bollocks
to refute this, because on the globe model, the only place you can be at the GP, the ground position of the SCP, the South Celestial Pole, is at the one and only geographic South Pole.
Yes, what you're saying is true if the angle above is actually 90 degrees. If it is directly above you, instead of being an arc second off, which is what I believe it is, you would be right. But we need a way to measure the difference between 90 degrees and 89.999 degrees. And I don't think science has advanced to the point. Like, that's why people still are debating flat Earth. Science is so young and we don't have the tools to measure.
Nobody's debating flat Earth. People are taking the piss out of flat earthers. People know it makes funny content. I'm talking about this because it makes funny content. Everybody can point and laugh at the fucking idiot, right? That's why I'm doing this. Nobody's actually debating this in a serious manner. Even if they were once, people have now gone to Antarctica and seen the 24-hour sun, which doesn't work on any model. Even if you want to desperately pretend there's all this weird magic happening all of a sudden.
This stuff yet.
Gotcha.
I don't think we can.
Okay. All right. So something else that I think is important, Stephen, and again, I'm bringing this up because I feel like flat earthers have been duped by you and believe you. And again, I'm defending you on one side of the coin by saying you're not trolling. But on the other side of the coin, I do think that you are an imposter.
I'm not sure he's not trolling.
I have some issues that I'd like to bring up right now with the Flat Earth University.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to share my screen here again.
Just to let people know, he's given himself a PhD. This is a bit I heard. I was driving home from the gym earlier. This is a bit I heard on the way home. He's given himself a PhD from his own Flat Earth University. Blew my mind. He's awarded himself a PhD. Anyway, this is what they're going to talk about, I'm assuming.
Okay. So the first thing that I noticed is your credentials. And it says here that you got a Bachelor of Computer Science from the University of Waterloo, a Master of Computer Science from Queen's University, and a PhD from York University.
The PhD from York is not true.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Because I could not find evidence of any of that.
Yeah, so I don't post information that
What?
would allow people to actually like dox me, call up my professors, because as you know, we receive death threats and we are a persecuted minority group. So
But you posted the other ones and saying they are true, but that one's not true. But I'm not. That one's not true because I don't want to get doxxed, so I'm not going to post the truth. So you're just going to lie and pretend you've got a PhD then? Okay.
the information there is vague, but it's the best that I can actually give people.
Vague.
Okay. Yeah, I even searched for your dissertation there, human emotions in large language models, silicon versus carbon, and I just couldn't find it.
Correct. None of my past academic papers will ever be public for people. Because I don't want them calling up York University,
Convenient.
Alonso, whatever.
Okay. Sorry, I got to get better at presenting here.
No.
Let's see here. There was some more here.
Yeah,
Okay.
the about section, there's probably going to be something. I think I know where you're going.
Well, this one here
you
says
already-
that
you
you've
already
held
called him,
faculty
right?
positions at several universities. I couldn't find any evidence of that.
Correct.
It also says that you've authored numerous papers in leading computer science journals. I couldn't find one of those. It also says
Oh
you've
no,
held
I
several
lied about
patents. I
that as
couldn't find
well.
a single patent.
Yep, I lied about that. You're right.
There's one that is public.
Okay. And then
Show though.
okay, and then it also says that
Nervous
you received
laughter.
the Excellence in Teaching Award from Queen's University and the Distinguished Researcher Award from York. I got the list of the winners of those, and you weren't there listed in either of those. Okay. And then the next one here, let's see here. Okay. So this one was a little bit concerning to me,
Take a sip.
which was another professor at the school, Professor John M. Anderson. I have a feeling this is a fake person.
Oh yeah, correct.
Okay. Yeah, because it also listed his credentials, which I could not find, claimed he had a PhD from Stanford.
Yeah, these
claimed-
were all AI teachers. There's another one, Dr. Mei Lei Zhang. That was when I was originally setting up the Flat Earth University, but it made more sense to have the students interacting with me directly. So none of those professors actually teach the courses anymore. So you can enroll now in FE 101 or FE 102, and you'll be assigned me directly as your professor.
So why use
but
anyone's
Professor
name,
John
anyone
Anderson's not a
else's
real
name
person.
then?
Oh, no. I just got the license to use that through the clothing deal. If you notice they're wearing my clothing, that's the company
Yes.
that provided me to use those.
Got it.
So they're
Okay.
not real
What do you
people at all.
need to?
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful because again, people have unfortunately fallen for this and they think that it's all real.
Oh, I'd hope not. So I'm the professor at Flat Earth University. I'm the one who will actually be teaching people.
Okay, great.
There's a lot of stuff from 2023.
So why not just be clear about it then? Why pretend there's other people there teaching anything when it's just you? Just say, this is just me. Not, please read between the lines. None of this is real. It's all bullshit. It's me, really. Surely you would know that. Flat Earthers are not going to decipher any truth out of anything. If something says Flat Earth on it, they completely believe it without reading it.
When I first started it and didn't really have funding, didn't know what I was doing. So that link there, I don't think is actually public on the website. It'd be an old page that's probably still archived by Google. That's how you would have found it.
Gotcha. Then there's this one here, which is the San Pedro campus.
Yes,
I noticed that the picture there is actually the government building in Santiago, Chile.
correct. So that's actually the banner image for all our pages, not just this one. So
Okay,
if you
so
click, like, I think students, I think the banner image will be the same as well.
gotcha. Okay, so there really is no campus then?
Well, the Flat Earth University exists as a business in Belize, and I use it for a lot of my financial purposes. Like, we own assets here.
Gotcha, but it's not like a physical campus.
Correct. No, we can't ever have physical campuses due to the threat of hate crimes. That'll never happen for Flat Earth, at least not now in the current state we are in.
What?
Okay.
In the future, it'd be nice if we could have public buildings where people could come in and study and stuff.
Because it's
Yeah.
a
Okay,
fucking
great.
We're an online school.
joke.
If you're not aware, we're an online school.
This is blowing my mind. This guy's just been called on so much bullshit that he's sitting there admitting, yeah, that was a lie. Yeah, I made that up. Yeah, that wasn't true. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That wasn't true. I didn't say that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Whereas, and flat earthers will just go, yeah, don't care. It doesn't matter. At the same time, Will Duffy is a proven liar, so we can't trust TFE at all. And expanding from that, saying that we can't trust that they faked it because he's a liar because he said lying's okay. This guy is literally admitting to lying about everything. None of you are going to care about that. But also, you're now going to not care about your stupid conspiracy theories about TFE not being real because this guy's saying it was real, but it works on his model. So now you're going to probably drop the fact that you said it was all fake, the fake to the sun, they did all this other stuff, and say, no, they didn't fake any of that. It was real, but it works on his model. Because you've been convinced by somebody that is literally lying about everything else and sitting there admitting it. And he knows that you won't care because he knows you're thick as fuck.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so, some people had thought that you were actually had physical locations.
Have they
So-
though, or is it only Globers? Have you ever had a flat earther tell you that, or is it only Globers? Because that seems to be the only people that try to make me look bad.
Well, I mean, the website says it, so I wouldn't fault somebody for believing it.
But it should be very obvious. Like, I have 400 students right now fully enrolled in the online program, and I never got one email saying, hey, where's the campus? So I hope like it's not flat earthers messaging you, and I'm assuming based on your response, it is only Globers that are saying that. And if so, I'm okay with that.
Okay. One other one here real quick, which I thought was interesting.
It's got a flat earth chair sitting on there. I've just noticed.
You mentioned here that the last sentence of the first section says Flat Earth University serves as the global epicenter for geocentric cosmology.
Now, this is very important because it's a semantic logical fallacy. If people don't understand how a noun and an adjective can be different, that's why it's there. So I've been pointed this out several times, but I'm not changing it because it's very important. In flat earth, the meanings of words matter, but in all discussions, the meaning of words matter. So global means a great outreach.
Why? Why does it mean that?
It doesn't mean on a physical globe.
Why does it mean that though? Where did they get the
idea?
idea?
So you a lot of that in the site, because my whole point is to help make flat earthers smarter. As you know, like there's no reason to deny a 24-hour sun, no reason to deny all that. And it comes down to very silly reasons. And I hope through what I do with this, we're able to teach people in kind of a fun way. So
no, they'll totally buy it. All the people that have been saying it's fake, it's a laser and everything else, they haven't got a model now. They know they don't have a model, so they'll totally jump on yours, and they'll totally then accept TFE was real, and that. But they'll claim that because of all the drivel that you say, that they don't understand and that they will never be able to argue for themselves because they know it's bollocks. But they will just accept it anyway, even though they don't accept anything from proven liars, and you've literally been sitting there being proven as a liar for the last hour.
This is the perfect example of how I would teach people about semantic logical fallacies and why the definitions and uses of words really matter.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I just wanted to make you aware of it as...
Oh, yeah, I know it's there.
Okay. And then this next one here, you actually did post in your group, the Firmament Trackers public group. So...
Yes.
I noticed, because again, like I was researching you and I just noticed this pattern of you claiming things that I didn't think were true, that didn't seem believable. And this one here, you said in 2020 you did your ISSA certifications.
Yes. Do you want me to get my textbooks?
I called them and they said you never finished and you were never certified.
I don't know why they say that. I don't even think they're legally allowed to say that.
Well, people want to make sure that the people that are claiming to be ISSA certified are legitimate. So I think they are allowed to do that so that people can't just lie about it. And they definitely said you contacted them about doing the class, but that you never finished it and are not certified.
That's interesting.
So
that's your
anyway,
defense.
I do like that you're...
Wow. Lie number 627, but believe his model though.
Take your health seriously. And
yes, I'm down to 20% body fat now. So when I first started this 6 months ago, I was at 25% body fat, 190 pounds. I'm about 164. But it's body fat. And again, flat earth fitness. We're exercising on flat surfaces. So this is a wonderful program. If anyone's interested, we have a flat earth fitness Facebook group.
Yeah, because if it was a globe, every surface you laid on would be curving away from you. So, it's a good job the earth's flat, because then you can lay on a flat surface, because there's curvature everywhere. Like this room, I was like, if I was to drop a drink, then it'd roll that way because the earth's a globe.
My work speaks for itself. So I'm not a big credentials guy. I don't want you to believe me because I have a PhD. Believe me because of the science and math, the exercise science, the proof of the results. That's all. Don't ever believe anyone because of a degree.
So
what? That's just receipts for tuition.
If none of that matters, why have you pretended to have all of it then? If you shouldn't believe people based on their qualifications, why have you pretended to have the qualifications?
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you still consider yourself a doctor?
You've got the patience of a saint.
So to have a doctorate, you have to contribute original work, make an original contribution. Now, if I didn't, then I would feel shameful for referring to myself as that. And to clarify, I'm not a medical doctor. So I don't want anyone to think I'm a medical doctor.
No.
A doctorate degree means you make an original contribution to the field. And for me, that was the Firmament Trackers app. Multi-observer software is something that was never done before. As you see, the best globe model possible is what I have above me, and you can only have one observer at a time. So my original contribution, which allowed me to earn my PhD, my doctorate in September of last year, was this software. And I'm really proud of it. You can download it for free, test out the basic features. We have many versions of it. So this is why I earned my doctorate, because even globe software cannot...
You've given it to yourself, and you're claiming that you earned it.
Do multiple observers in real time.
I'm going to give myself World Footballer of the Year award, I think, because I can do 20 keepy uppies. There you go. I've earned it. I'll say so.
They got to do pre-made renders like in Blender, where my software is real time, which is insane that it took a flat earther to do this.
Yeah. Now, I should tell you, Stephen, this is an area, I'm not a doctor. This is not an area I'm very familiar with, but I did have some people contact me when I announced our debate and I made the thumbnail, and they pushed back at you referring to yourself as a doctor. They said that it was disrespectful to people who are actually doctors, who actually got their PhD. And so I do think we should be careful in arguing that if we make an app that's new or novel, that we can call ourselves a doctor.
Well, it depends what field it's in. So I'm not a doctor of philosophy or a doctor of biology. It's geocentric cosmology. So no one should feel offended unless they feel like they work in the same field as I do. And it's not just a new app, it's a whole new entire concept. No one's ever done this before. Like, I don't even think you can do it on a globe. To have multiple observers on a globe, I don't think it's possible, but I'm willing to admit that it's more of a software limitation rather than a modeling issue. But yeah, it's not just an app, it's a whole new way to look at astronomy. No one has ever been able to plot you have like infinite observers. Let me just see what we have. No, not this one here. Yeah, so the software is just so cool. And that's why with the software, I became so confident that there has to be a 24-hour sun. And I built this myself. So I was able to test what works, what doesn't. And yeah.
Yeah, I give you credit. You've done a good job. I think in the past, I'm going to apologize for something. In the past, I accused you of stealing Walter Bislin's model.
You did.
But the reality is, it appears you have not done that. Rather, you have built on top of it and made it better, so to speak.
Well, not even built on top of it. They're entirely different languages. So he did his in JavaScript, and I did mine in TypeScript. So JavaScript, the best way to describe it is we have objects, and it's handled completely different.
No, I've had enough. I think there's only a couple of minutes left there. If they're going to start patting each other on the back and all of that stuff, I don't think I want to watch that because it's not that interesting. So there you go. That was weird. That was so weird. That guy, lie, called on every lie, admitting that he was lying every time. And saying, trying to justify it. All the flat earthers will say none of those lies matter, but when Will said that sometimes lying is okay, that makes him a liar. Therefore, disregard everything he says. But this guy, total fucking bullshitter, doesn't matter. He's definitely not lying about this model. That's our model now. And we all agree with that. What did you think about this debate? Or this expose of Stephen Alonso, let's call it, right? Let me know. Cheers. Adios for now.